Ben Dubose, news editor, AMP Media. We're here in the newly opened exhibit hall at the 26th AMP Annual Conference and Expo at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston. I'm happy to be joined in our AMP podcast booth on the show floor by Alan Thomas, CEO of AMP, and also chairman of TalentForce, which we'll get to momentarily. But I want to start with just a little bit of talk about the show, because this is your third or fourth year in the CEO role leading this show, and every show is different, but this one in Houston, there's a distinct vibe to it. The conversations you've had, the sessions you've sat in on, what's the energy like to you? What's the general vibe this week?
Thank you, Ben, for having me, first and foremost. This is my fourth show.
Okay.
My first one was in Denver.
That's right.
And I was an overwhelmed observer for that one primarily. If you'll remember, I had only been on the job for about a week. So I got to take it all in and got to see and learn about how we do this, how we produce it, how our members interact with it, how our sponsors engage with the members. It was a great time. Each one has built on the other. And Greg and I sat down with his team after the Denver show. We shared some ideas. We took feedback from both the board of directors, feedback from our members that said, how do we continue to add value in the organization and in the conference and the exhibit? And I think you may have seen a progression in both how we handle the keynotes and the opening sessions. We've added much more energy. I remember last year I talked to one of our long-term members on the show floor that said in 30 years, that was the greatest one he's attended. I'm hoping to hear that same comment this year. I believe, as you pointed out, the energy is electric. It's Houston, Texas. It's AMP's hometown. It's the hometown of the energy sector, hometown of space, of medicine. We're very excited to be here. The message around materials protection and performance resonates across this whole city, across every industry. I expect it to be a great conference. Greg did tell me that we've topped our numbers already from last year. So not only is the excitement bigger, so is the attendance.
Yeah. We talked to Greg on the floor of the opening reception, and he said about 24 hours ago that y'all were running about 400 people ahead of last year. So could sense his excitement. One other thing that's really positive about this year, you don't have the weather concerns that we had in both New Orleans and Nashville. So I know you can't control it.
Yeah, so last year was tornado watches,
right?
Tornado warnings.
Yeah.
Multiple times I ended up in my bathtub in my hotel room. I remember in the board of directors meeting, we had a warning go off. And then if you go back 2 years to New Orleans, the roof caved in.
Yeah.
Right after we did the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah.
So weather right now is pretty good. I did hear from the Sherwin-Williams, who was the sponsor for the ribbon cutting. Their VP is stuck in the airport in Dallas because of high winds at the Houston airport. But other than that, it's been pretty good for us.
I was thinking back to the unfortunate sponsorship 2 years ago when the roof caved in. But
can you imagine the booth?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But we made it work. We always do. Anyway, let's get to TalentForce. That's something that's very new to 26, and you actually just announced it a couple of hours ago.
We did.
Give us a summary of what you told attendees at the General Assembly right before the keynote.
What we shared at the keynote and what we talked about back in the VIP room, and this is a message that we've been sharing with the board of directors for well over a year now. We didn't just come up with this and launch it. We've been hard at work for 18 months for this day and for this moment. And the way that I have to frame it, Ben, is that NACE and SSPC were founded with an enemy in mind, and that enemy was corrosion. And both organizations have worked, and AMP has worked now collectively for 150 years to fight that enemy. And today the enemy has changed. The enemy is no longer corrosion, Ben. The enemy is a lack of a workforce to put in place the science, the principles, the training, and the learning that we've done for the last 150 years. And it's not a recruitment problem. That's what a lot of people think right off the bat. Well, we just have to recruit more, or get into the junior highs, or have really cool projects. It is a population problem. Every population on the planet, save one, is in decline. And if you look at the population and the census data, specifically in the developed countries like the US, like Europe, around the world, those populations are in the fastest decline. So the populations and the geographies that have the most valuable assets at risk are the ones that have the sharpest level of decline in future employees. That is a impending crisis. And what the board of directors has been working with us on the staff is, does AMP step up, and does AMP try to fill that gap and close that problem to something that's manageable? And that's what TalentForce is. We're excited to launch that today. We were excited to see the response from the crowd. I believe everyone supports it. It doesn't matter what exhibitor they're with or what company they support. Everyone is understanding of the outsized problem that's in front of us.
And then as far as the keynote itself, I want to get your impressions on that. One thing that stood out to me, and it sort of dovetails with TalentForce, there's an emphasis on training, this outlook from, and of course the keynote speaker, John Gucci Foley, what a story there, former Blue Angels pilot.
Exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, very engaging. And, he talks about the importance of training. Like, it's not about going out there and being a superhero. It's about being ready. And that's a big part of what AMP is as an organization, empowering the workforce, training them, making sure they're ready. That's a big part of what TalentForce conceivably can be. That stood out to me. What stood out to you as far as big takeaways from the keynote today?
What I loved is this central message around extreme trust. And for an organization to do what we're about to try to do, it takes trust. It goes back to the merger of NACE and SSBC.
Sure.
That took a great amount of trust to take those legacy storied organizations, bring them together as one and create a new identity. That took a lot of trust. And we are playing on that trust, leveraging that trust, giving it the TalentForce.
Yep.
And we're trusting that to be the legacy that we leave to be able to really try to solve that outsized problem.
Yep. And speaking of that merger, we're now 5 years in. We've got a 5-year anniversary campaign. Do you sense more confidence from the membership that this was in fact the right move and that everything's on the right track?
Absolutely. We hear that on a daily basis. We still have work to do.
Sure.
There's no doubt about that. There's different pockets in the world that are on different levels of the spectrum of acceptance and understanding.
Yep.
And we as the staff are out there, the board is out there daily working with those individuals. But the unity is fantastic to see. The trust and the support is unwavering. And it's really a privilege to serve and be a part of that.
Absolutely. So the remainder of your week, there's certainly some flagship events still on the docket. Scholarship Awards, Emerging Leaders
Excited
Bash,
about that.
Tuesday night, honoree night on Wednesday night. But just from the CEO's perspective, what does the rest of this week look like for you? What are the conversations you're going to be having, the types of events that stand out to you?
The scheduling of the rest of the week is like a Jenga game, if you can imagine what that looks like, or a Tetris if you're going old school video, right?
Right.
So I won't even get into that. But let me tell you what I love about this opportunity. It's the one time of the year that us as the staff get to live out our first value of connecting. And you heard the commander talk about that today. You've got to be connected, right? He talked about it in his keynote speech. And we've been preaching that now for 3 years here at AMP as our class values take form. The C in class is all about connecting. And it's us connecting to these exhibitors, to our members, and listening. It's not really about the conversations and what we have to share. It's the conversations I get to listen in on to understand how can we deliver greater value across the full spectrum to our AMP membership.
Yep. So we do this flagship show every spring. There's a few, smaller area events that we certainly want to encourage attendance to, but this is the big one. So after this week, our next gathering will be next April in Columbus, Ohio. When we all get back together then, what do you hope we've accomplished in the, 13 months between now and then? What's on your agenda? What's on AMP's agenda for the next 12 or 13 months?
That's a great question. What we want to see is the momentum that we've built for the past 5 years continue. We talked tonight about breaking records in membership. We've broken records exponentially in chapter formation. We're broken records in numbers of students trained, programs. We've just gotten the CP program installed in Kilgore Community College in Texas. What I hope to see next year is when we talk to the members about what we've done, we want to have given away more scholarships than ever before. We want to see new people coming into the industry through TalentForce like never before. We want to say that we've reached 195 chapters, possibly, right? Maybe we've reached 45, 50,000 members. We want to see that momentum continue to take that same trajectory. and celebrate. This year we had more exhibitors than we've ever had before.
That's right.
I'd love to see that momentum carried forward, and we'd love to see attendance at this show and all of our events. We've got some great area conferences coming up throughout the rest of the year, several across the United States. I've just been to a phenomenal one in Calgary a couple weeks ago in Alberta. That was fantastic. We've got our East Asia Pacific coming online in the fall. A lot of great stuff that we'll be able to report on next year.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Folks, he's Alan Thomas, CEO of AMP and chairman of TalentForce, correct?
Correct.
Good stuff. I'm Ben Dubose, news editor, AMP Media. Thanks for watching. This is the 26th AMP Annual Conference and Expo in Houston, Texas.